This is part of a 4-part series on becoming the person who gets a yes before you even pitch. Because your income isn't determined by your pitch, your framework, or your corny sales tactics. It's determined by who you are on your sales calls. So in this series, I'm breaking down the 4 core elements that make prospects want to buy from you before you ever present your offer. If you haven't watched the other videos in this series, they're linked in the description. Now let's dive in. Welcome back to Behind the Sale. If you're new here, my name is Princess Von Home, and I'm a sales coach, which means I get to help sales reps and high-ticket coaches break through their income ceilings by becoming the person prospects want to say yes to before you even pitch. Last year, I personally collected over $3.4 million in high-ticket sales, and now I help students go from 5K months to 20K plus months using exactly what I'm about to share with you. So today, we're going to talk about something that nobody wants to admit. Being nice is why you're broke. So it's not because you lack skill, but because you're so afraid of being rude that you're not saying the things that need to be said on your sales calls. And it is absolutely costing you deals every day. And I know this because I was the nicest sales rep you could ever meet. Prospects would always say, "You are so sweet, princess," and then ghost me. And the line that broke me was when a prospect said, "This was a lovely conversation, princess, but yeah, I'll get back to you when I'm ready." I was so mad. And this was the turning point because I got this all the time. And I did not get into sales to be sweet. I got into sales to help people. So today, I'm going to break down the 3 phases in discovery where you can absolutely say the thing that needs to be said without being pushy, rude, or manipulative. And this is what separates 6-figure closers from anyone else. The thing that separates mediocre closers who are really struggling to hit their income goals from the top 1% is courage. The courage to call out the elephant in the room, the courage to ask the tough questions, and the courage to care so much more about the prospect's results than about your own feelings. Let's look at it this way. When you go to a doctor, do you want the doctor to dance around a potential diagnosis because they're afraid of hurting your feelings? What about when you go to a lawyer? Do you want the lawyer to sugarcoat the details of your case because they don't want to be too pushy? Of course not. You want them to tell you straight, right? You want them to tell you exactly what you need to hear so that way you know how to move forward and take care of yourself. But somehow we understand this concept when it comes to other industries like medicine and law. But when it comes to sales, we're so programmed to believe that being direct is rude that we don't help people. That asking tough questions and calling out the elephant in the room is being pushy or manipulative. And this is why someone will jump on a bunch of sales calls, not buy, but then choose to buy with one person. You're probably wondering, well, what is it that makes that one person stand out? It is so simple. They had a real conversation. Your prospects are drowning in problems. You are standing on the shore trying to throw them a life jacket, but because you're too polite to throw it hard enough that it hits them, it doesn't reach them and they can't grab it. So let me give you an example to show you what I mean. Imagine you're at home making dinner and you get a cold call. "Hey, it's Rob from XYZ Random Company. We're looking to help 4 businesses scale this quarter, and we saw your account on LinkedIn." Click. It's done. You hang up immediately, right? Now, imagine you get another cold call. "Hi, it's Oprah Winfrey. My team is looking for 4 businesses to scale, and I saw your account on LinkedIn. I'd love to help you scale it. It looks really cool." Yes. Your answer is yes. What do you need me to do? What's the difference? Because they pitched you the same offer. If you said authority, you are correct. The difference is the authority. The authority that Oprah has versus what Rob from Random Company you've never heard of has. But it's such a small difference. Why is it that when Oprah calls you, you don't ask, "How much does it cost?" You don't ask, "What does it entail?" You don't go, "What's the catch? What are you selling me here?" Right? You just say yes. You're probably thinking, well, duh, it's a celebrity. But no, that's not the point, actually, because you can't become famous anytime soon, right? It takes some work, okay? Oprah took her some time. So here's my point. You don't have to be famous to be that person who gets a yes. How do I know? Because I get a yes before I make an offer every single day. And I've gotten a yes for the last 2 years, praise God. And even when I was selling from my parents' attic with a beige wall behind me, even with my cheap webcam and my $20 headset from Amazon, I was still able to get a yes. Even when I was feeling sick, I was still able to get a yes because the people on the other side of the phone, on the other side of Zoom, were not saying yes to the offer. They were saying yes to my leadership. All they want to know is that you know what you're talking about, you're confident, and they can follow that conviction. They can borrow that conviction. People are not buying your offer on the call. They are buying the conviction that you show up with. And most sales reps don't show up with that conviction because they're too afraid to say what needs to be said. So let's talk about the lies that you're telling yourself that are causing you to lose deals. The first lie is this idea that you don't want to be pushy. The reality is prospects want to be led. So you're not pushing them, you're leading them. They showed up to your call. They booked you on your calendar. They showed up to your office because they need your help. I used to sell to real estate agents, and often they would show up without doing their homework. Without watching the video, I emailed them. And I used to be so nervous to call it out because I thought they would hang up on me. I thought they would get so pissed off because they don't have a lot of time. But when I dropped that fear of offending them, I started asking them, why didn't you watch it? And they would apologize. They would say, I'm so sorry. I've been running around. I'm so busy. And I would make them watch it on the call. 7-minute video. I'd go make a coffee and then I'd come back. And by the end of the call, they would apologize again for not preparing while they're paying the invoice and signing the agreement. So the moral of the story is people respect you when you're direct and when you show up as the person who has standards. Because my standard is you've got to do your homework before my call. Otherwise, you show up completely clueless and we've got to start from ground zero. And now the call is just so much longer. The second lie that you're telling yourself is they'll think I'm rude if I call out the elephant in the room. The reality is when you're direct, they actually trust you so much more because you're showing them that you are serious about helping them, not just about being liked. That's why all the other sales reps they spoke to, they didn't buy from them because they were more concerned about being liked than about helping. And nobody respects that. Lie number 3 is I should let them think about it because it is a lot of money. Now, let's knock that out real quick because if you believe that what you're selling is a lot of money, you need to delete that belief immediately because reason number 1, if your program is $10,000 and you think it's a lot of money, and you want to make $10,000 every month, you are blocking yourself from receiving it. How can you possibly receive that when you think it's so much money? Now, the second reason is if you believe it's a lot and you're agreeing with them that it's expensive, how are they supposed to feel confident that their business is going to make 10x that amount working with you? If you buy into the belief that $10,000 is a lot of money, but you're selling someone a mentorship to help them scale their business to $100,000 a month, make it make sense. How can they trust you to lead them when you think 1/10 of their goal is a lot? Fun fact, in the US alone, $2.4 trillion, trillion with a T, was circulated last year. Just in the US. That's not even counting the other countries. China, Canada, the UK. There is no such thing as a lot of money when that much money is just casually circulating around. So here's what it's costing you when you don't say or ask the scary question. Financially, just think about how many deals you could have closed last week that you didn't close. Think about all the stress it's causing you not having consistent income. Think about what it's costing you when you see other sales reps making the kind of money you want, wondering what are they doing differently? Think about the impact on your self-confidence. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir, am I not? So before we dive into the 3 different phases on your call where you have the opportunity to say the thing that needs to be said, I need you to understand why this is so important, okay? So let's set the foundation in place. If you're taking notes, write this down on your notebook. I do what's right, not what's easy. Because selling is serving. But a big part of selling in a way that feels purposeful, that feels effortless, that doesn't feel pushy is when you speak to someone's identity. But before you can speak to someone's identity, you need awareness of how you speak to yours. Now, the biggest lie that we tell ourselves is all about our identity. The I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I don't have enough testimonials, I don't have enough experience. These lies completely disconnect us from the truth, and our whole job on a sales call is to get to the truth. So take a moment and think about the transformation that your offer provides. Maybe it's health coaching, helping women with hormonal imbalance restore their health. Maybe it's financial coaching, helping people to make more money by starting a business. Think about the transformation and phrase it in a way that demonstrates the magnitude of the purpose behind what you sell, and write down that transformation. For example, for my offer, I would say, I help sales reps and high-ticket coaches break through their income ceilings and make life-changing income so they can finally live life on their own terms so they never have to stress about money again. That's why I'm able to speak with so much conviction and purpose. That's why sometimes you hear my voice crack. This is the mission. And when you understand the magnitude of what you're offering, it becomes so much easier to call out the elephant and say the difficult things that need to be said to your prospects, because you're not operating from a place of protecting your ego anymore. You are now in service of their transformation. So now that we understand the magnitude of your purpose and we have a strong foundation in place, let's dive into the 3 parts of discovery where you can say the thing. So the first part is to actually earn respect from the very beginning. So this is where most sales reps lose the sale. This is your opportunity to set the tone for the entire conversation. For example, when they show up late, you don't just say, "No worries, let's jump right in." No, ask, "Is everything okay? Because our meeting started 14 minutes ago." Give them space to acknowledge it and apologize. And then you can say, "Okay, so we only have about 35 minutes left, so let's dive in. Did you get a chance to do your homework?" If they didn't do their homework, don't ignore it. Ask, "Why didn't you watch the video?" They'll give you excuses. Usually it's some version of, "I didn't have time." That "I don't have time" is going to be your objection at the end of the call, so you might as well get it out in the first 5 minutes and then you can handle it. So that's an opportunity to pull up the video, have them watch it, go make a smoothie or a coffee, walk away from the screen. So in the first 5 minutes of the call, you're holding them accountable, you're showing them that you have standards and that you respect your process. So many people don't respect their own process, and then they wonder why their prospects walk all over them. When you don't respect your own time, they won't either. And then they'll ask you 50 million questions because they didn't watch the video that gives them the context they need. So phase 2 is where you reveal the truth. This is the juiciest phase because this is where you can catch things that don't align and call it out. For example, when their words and their actions don't match. They say, "I'm gonna make life-changing income," but they show up to their call in bed. You need to call it out. I notice you're in bed. Are you able to sit at a table for this conversation? If they're sitting in the dark, "Hey, I cannot see you, my friend. Can you turn on the light or open a blind or something?" And when you call people out, you can do this with a smile on your face. And you're showing them, "Hey, I'm serious about this conversation. And I'm someone who's ready to have a real deep conversation with you, not to just ask you a list of questions on a script." Another example, when they show up sick or they're not really present, maybe there's a lot going on in their house, they still need to be present. "I don't care if you're sick. If you're not going to reschedule or cancel this call, then you need to show up for it." So just let them know, no worries. Recommend it. Recommend they rebook. If they're like, "No, it's fine, I'm already here," it's like, okay, well, can you sit at a table so we can have a proper conversation as opposed to you holding your phone in bed? If they say no, okay, no worries, let's reschedule the call, because they're not buying in that mental state anyway. Another example is if they have low standards or weak goals. For example, if you're selling a business opportunity, like starting an affiliate marketing business or starting a drop shipping business or something, if they say, "Yeah, I'd be happy to make an extra $1,000 or $2,000 a month," and you're selling a $6,000 program, well, you've got to say, "Well, if you're looking to make an extra $2K, why not just Uber? Like, you can make that doing Uber." So this is an opportunity to challenge their standard. Because why would you pitch a $6,000 program to someone who only wants to make $1,000 or $2,000 a month? It doesn't make any sense. They're better off keeping that money in their savings. And yet, So many sales reps don't challenge those low standards, and then they're surprised when the person doesn't buy. Another example is when they reveal their limiting beliefs. That's a really common one for health coaching or fitness coaching, is that I think my obesity is genetic because I've always been overweight and my parents are overweight. Don't just nod and move on. You can ask, I'm curious, where does that belief come from that it's genetic? Let them explain. And then you can walk them through this. I understand that your parents are overweight, your grandparents are overweight, but I'm curious, do you think it's the genes, or do you think that it might be a lifestyle that was passed down? Put them on the hot seat so they have to come to the conclusion themselves. This is not comfortable to do, but it is absolutely what will separate you from the 4 other sales reps they spoke to and got away with that. Your third golden opportunity on your sales call to be the person who says the thing that needs to be said is right before you pitch, because this, my friend, is where you get commitment. This is the final phase before pitching if you're familiar with my framework, and this is where they say yes. Now, before we dive into this step, if you're not familiar with my framework that is fully designed to get a yes before you even pitch your offer, jump into my free school community. The link is in the description. I have got everything laid out in there, easy peasy to integrate into what you're currently doing, so that way you can get quick deals, collect some cash, and maybe work with me in the future. Again, the link to my framework is in the description. So this final phase before you pitch, where they say yes, this is where you can really find out what is it that actually shifted for them recently that makes them even want to get some help in the first place, okay? This is the phase of the call that I strategically designed to get their commitment. What other people do with their generic sales frameworks is they just ask, why now? Why do you want to get help now instead of 6 months ago? And everyone's heard this before, and they are so sick of hearing it. The purpose of this phase of the call is to get their commitment, not to find out why they want help now, because then they're going to tell you it's because I saw your ad at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's why. This is your opportunity to not let them off the hook until they are fully committed to getting out of their comfort zone to achieve their goals. Because without this, it doesn't matter how much pain they gave you. It doesn't matter how horrible their situation is if they're not willing to actually get uncomfortable to make it happen. So those are the 3 phases. So let's recap the 3 phases of the sales call where you have the golden opportunity to say the thing that needs to be said so you are respected and you are that person who gets a yes before you pitch are: number 1, the first 5 minutes. This is where you show them you respect yourself, you respect your time, and you respect your process. Phase 2 is where you reveal the truth, where you hold their feet to the fire, you challenge things that don't make sense, and you have a real deep conversation about what they actually want. And phase 3 is where you get commitment before you even pitch, because this is the difference between getting hit with objection soup and having an objectionless close. So if you take one thing from this training, take this. You don't need better scripts. You don't need fancy psychological tricks. All you need is courage. The courage to ask the hard questions, to care more about the prospect's outcome than their opinion of you. That's it. So start with phase 1 tomorrow. Keep it simple. If someone shows up late, they show up in bed, acknowledge it. If they didn't do the homework, ask why and build from there. Starting slowly will help you build that muscle of being direct and watch your close rate climb. If you want more deep dive trainings on exactly how to master discovery and how to handle objections before they show up on your calls, I have a free community where I break this down in depth. The link is in the description. We are going into a new year, my friends, and now is the time to stop being the person everyone likes but doesn't buy from. If you haven't already, it would mean the absolute world to me if you like and subscribe, because it helps other people find these episodes. And last but not least, the other parts of this 4-part series are linked in the description, so I will see you there.